Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and it's another Tuesday for our book reviews. Who is excited? Who is excited? I'm sure you're excited. Yes, I'm super excited because whenever I remember Tuesdays I remember Tuesdays are for book reviews, and when you hear book reviews you remember growth. I'm going to remember that, okay, I'm going to become the better version of myself. I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to get a new information added to my okay guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I still remain prosperous, though prefer me prosperous, and this is Inside Out with Prosper. On Tuesdays we do our book reviews, on Fridays we do vlogs or our normal content, just talk about life and everything about life. So guys, we've been so consistent with the book reviews on Tuesdays, and currently we are dealing with the book. We are reading the book Do Not Settle for Safe by Pastor Sarah Jakes. We're on the second chapter at the moment because last week we dealt with the first chapter that was talking about no more excuses, and today we have the second chapter. Ta-da! Find your wheat. Yes, find your wheat. So today we'll be reviewing the chapter Find Your Wheat, and this chapter has six subheadings, powerful six subheadings that you're going to learn a lot from. Let's take a short break and we will be right back. Ta-da-da-da-da-da. Welcome back from the short break, and now let's get right into let's dig in. Let's dig in. So today's chapter is talking about finding your wheat. When you hear the word weeds, what comes to your mind? What comes to play? For me, when I was in primary school, my primary school teacher taught me that weeds are unwanted plants. Yeah. So she's not talking about the actual weed like we all know. So I'll be summarizing the first subheading, which is family outing. So in this particular subheading, she started off explaining to us that she has a family of 6, and she and her husband Pastor Torre are at different stage of parenting. Because the age difference between the firstborn and the lastborn or the middleborn, it's about 20 years. So you could actually imagine it's not like they are parents to toddlers or parents to teenagers alone. The parents to young adults. She's actually handling different stages of parenting all at once, she and her husband. And she mentioned that they've actually been so busy, and this was when she kicked into the family outings of Eden. So she was telling us how that they've been very busy for a long time, and they barely had time for themselves, and they knew that, okay, they needed time for a family time, like they needed to bond as a family. The father has been busy, the mother has been busy, so they decided to go for an outing as a family. And the only time they could go was on a Sunday. And she, growing up as a pastor's daughter, she knew she had the experience of what Sundays used to look like. For her, Sundays were like just for church and after service nap. You know, you go to church on Sundays and you come back quite late and you're just tired, and the next thing you want to do is sleep because you're knackered. So that was it for her, and the only time they had was Sunday. So it was a very difficult decision for her husband to make, just to get somebody to go and handle the preaching on Sunday, but they had to do it. And then they went for an outing. They were in the car and they had their little baby Ella. Ella was still a very little girl, and their other child, and Ella kept on disturbing them with her cry, because she was really crying when they were in the car. And the next thing that happened was when she our other child went ahead to hold Ella, because she was really so. Our other child went to hold Ella, and before she knew what was happening, the other siblings, the other 4 of her siblings, all of her children were right in front of her. Then she was with her husband holding hands locked, holding hands with her husband, and before she knew it, she went into a trance. And she explained that a normal person would be a very caring sister, carrying her sister that she loves so much, but she saw it from a very different perspective, because that was when it dawned on her that, wow, she saw it from a very different perspective, that this is a teenage girl carrying a baby, because she actually had that experience. She had a child when she was just 14 years old. So she was picturing, she had the mindset, she had the mental picture of a teenager carrying a child, and it threw her down memory lane, and everything she had to survive as a teenage mother. So that thought kept on disturbing her, and she said that she could not even get over it, and she just kept on thinking about it, and she had to it took her and it was until the next day before she explained what happened to her husband. And even when she was explaining to her husband, she was saying it in a more, like, in a very neutral way, like it wasn't that deep. But the more she became verbal with her feelings, the more she explained herself to her husband, she couldn't hold the tears. This was what led to the next subheading, which is guard your heart. Guard your heart. Now, in this subheading, she talked about how she gave an example of a garden, and what a garden looks like, and how that a garden is for, and what a garden looks like, and how colorful a garden is, and how beautiful a garden is. And she talked about how that our heart is a garden and we need to guard it. And she gave examples of what a garden looks like. Now, what she was trying to say in this particular subheading is that so many things comes to our mind every now and then. So many things come to our mind every now and then. She even went further by saying that we learn so many skills in school. We learn mathematics, we learn English, we learn basic science, we learn so many things. But one thing that we do not pay attention to is the importance and how imperative it is to guard our hearts. In fact, I actually feel like this should be added to the curriculum in schools. Guarding your heart, because out of the mind flows the issues of life. She made reference to that Bible passage. It is what goes on in your mind that determines what happens, how you're going to behave, how you're going to react, how you're going to respond to things. So just imagine that when she had when she was in that epiphany, when she had that epiphany, she broke down, and she felt like, okay, and she began to feel guilty again. So most times things happen to us, and a lot of thoughts keeps on coming to our mind, but your heart is a garden, and whatever you allow to rest, whatever you allow to settle in that garden is what is going to grow. So let's say for instance, you have a garden and you're planting different things, planting a lot of beautiful things in that garden, and maybe by mistake a particular seed you do not want to grow drops in that garden, and you were so and maybe you became so lazy to pick it up. That seed is going to germinate, that seed is going to grow, and you're going to have what you really do not want in your garden. So what she's saying in essence here is that you should guard your heart from all of the thoughts. Watch the moment, like, you have to question every thought that comes to your mind. She actually laid emphasis on guarding our thoughts. What comes to your mind, guard your heart. You actually have the key. You actually have the final say on what should settle. Our mind is very open, and so many things keeps on coming, and the only way you have the power to guard your heart And what she's saying is that we should guard our hearts, because out of our hearts flows the issues of life. This will lead us to the next subheading, which is the weed of defensiveness. The weed of defensiveness. When I saw this, I could really resonate with it, because she began to explain further her teenage pregnancy and everything she had to go through, and how that it really made her become defensive. Because a teenage girl getting pregnant, you already know what people are going to say, and to her everything she wanted to do was to prove to them that, okay, I had a bad story, but now I can become a better person. And these things happen to almost everybody. Maybe something bad happens to you, and instead of you to actually calm down, learn from your mistakes and do better, the next thing I want to do is, this bad thing happened to me, I actually had this particular experience, I'm going to prove to them, I'm going to let them know that I can become a better person. Fine, yes, we want you to become a better person, but in what from but what lens are you seeing it from? Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it because you really want to become a better person, or because you want to prove to people that you can do better? You don't need to prove to anybody. So this was what this particular wedding was all about. So Pastor Sarah Jakes was trying, she said that she was trying to prove to them that she can become better, that fine, that was a mistake and she's going to do better. So everything she was doing, getting people's validation, because she wanted to prove to people. If you want to prove to people, trust me, the next thing you'll be looking out for is trying to get their validation. So Pastor Sarah was trying to get people's validation, because she already made mistakes and now she wanted to prove to them. So at this part, so with all of this mindset and everything she already owned, she tried as much as possible to stay away from people that pointed out her mistakes. She already got pregnant, and she was trying to put back the pieces of her life together, just not because she knows that that is the next thing to do, but because she wanted to prove to people that she could do better. So anybody, like everybody that was trying to point out the mistakes and the lapses in her life, turned to her enemy. So this began to grow, and it created a heap of defensive mindsets. So she found it so difficult to say sorry. And funny how God actually has a way of doing his things. So God now blessed her with a particular husband, it's Pastor Torre, that she felt so safe in his hands. She felt so safe with him. So God used God leveraged on that fact, that because she felt safe in his hands, she could actually yield to everything he was saying. Now she felt safe in Pastor Torre's hand. She felt so safe with Pastor Torre, and by this, and because of this, she found it very difficult to say no, because Pastor Torre always pointed out our mistakes. Pastor Torre also always showed her the places where she needed to grow. And knowing fully well that she was a person that was very defensive, he actually broke so many wings, those wings of defensiveness. He actually broke everything. So she actually explained how defensive she was. And I know that there's so many people, maybe if you are watching this, you're a very defensive person and you find it very difficult to admit to mistakes, because if I find it very difficult to admit to mistakes. She's telling you that what Pastor Sarah Jakes is trying to tell us in this book is that you should go back, retrace your steps, because you didn't just become defensive overnight. It actually began with a particular incident that you did not tackle, that you did not face, that you did not fight, that you did not confront. That is what is now affecting you now, because everything has actually accumulated and it has now become, you now have the mindset of defensiveness. Now this will lead us to the next subheading, which is how about you? How about you? Now she's asking that, how about you? Her Her own weed was the weed of defensiveness. What is your own weed? What is your weed? Pastor Sarah Jakes is asking you that, what is your weed? I could, when she was actually talking about the weed of defensiveness, I fell into that category. It was my table. I'm not gonna lie. I've actually read this book since, but for the sake of this content, I had to read it again, and I actually thank God for growth, because ever since I read this book, it has really helped me and helped me become a better person. I used to be a very defensive person. A very defensive person. So now, what about you? What are your weed? What are your weeds? Is it, do you have, I'm sure you have, what are your weeds? What are those things that are not meant to be in your life that you know and you are shying away from, and it is still there? Those things are your weeds. Anything that you know that, okay, this thing is actually wrong and it's still in my life, and I find it very difficult to confront it because I don't want to talk about it. She said those things are your weed. What are your weeds? So I'm leaving you with this question today too. What are your weeds? And this will lead us to the next subheading, which is making good decisions. Making good decisions. And I will start by reading some of the things that I highlighted in the book. She said, until you begin to question why you think and feel the way you do, you will never be able to have a thriving life. So we make so many decisions in life, we try to decide so many things, but there are so many things that determine our decisions. There are so many things that decide our decisions. So she says that until you know why you act the way you do, until you know why you are doing the things you're doing, you will not have a thriving life. So for Pastor Sarah Jakes, she wanted to be successful, she wanted to become a better person because she wanted to prove to people. That was her own why. What is your why? Now, it is and she actually said in the book that success should not be determined by the outward things that we see. And success should actually truly come from within. So she was making so many decisions based on the fact that she wanted to seek and get the validations of people, because she already felt like she had already disappointed so many people. So she wanted to gain their validation. So why are you doing the things you're doing? Fine, you might actually have so many awards, and she said you might actually have so many awards and so many outer display of success, but those things are just a are just a recipe for pride. Awards, okay, best in that, best in this, blah blah blah. Why are you doing those things you are doing? I want you to take a I want you to take a recess now as you're watching this video. Pause the video and ask yourself, all of these things I have achieved, did I really do it because I really wanted to do it? Did I really do it because this was what I really wanted? Or because you wanted other people's validation? If it is because you wanted other people's validation, and that was why you got all of these awards for yourself, that was why you're actually where you are today, I tell you, you are not successful. But if everything you have now is because you really wanted it and because that was what you want, you are a success. You are a success already, and you are a successful person. So why do you want the things that you want? So she also made examples of how that, she already talked about defensiveness, and she said we make so many and she said we make so many decisions. Then she went further by explaining that most times, at times, the decision you might make, that we make, might affect other people. So she was just giving an example. She was just making herself as an example that at times she makes some decisions that might hurt other people, and sincerely she did it from a pure heart because she really really loves them. But they saw it the other way around. So she said we should see arguments from the perspective of others. If you are trying to have, if you are communicating with someone, you should come with an open mind. And I will share my experience because something happened to me this earlier this week on Monday. I have a friend, and I'm so glued to Instagram. I really love to watch a lot of reels, and I really learn a lot from Instagram. And I send a lot of things to my friend. I send reels to my friend, and I don't. To me, it is because I love you. That is why I'm sending reels. I do not send reels to everybody. I have like just 6 people I send reels to on Instagram, and I do it because I really, really do love them, because I really want to make them laugh and see so many things that they've not seen on Instagram. So this particular person said she doesn't like it. At first I was like, is it not reels? I beg Joe, it's reels. Why should you get angry that I'm sending you reels? I was still joking about it, and I sent another reel because I was thinking she was joking, because I was doing it from a very sincere place. Then she told me the next day that, Prosperous, I do not like the reels you're sending to me. I don't like you sending reels to me. And I sincerely apologize. And this is because I've already read this book, and I already learned that you do not have the right to tell people the way they are to feel about something. You do not have any rights. You do not have any right to tell people the way they are to feel about a particular thing. If you're doing something for someone and they tell you that, and maybe what they are doing is actually a good thing, and they tell you that they do not like it, please accept the fact that they do not like it. That they do not like it. If it was my older self, I would have said, I would have gotten angry that, what is inside you that you don't like? But I had to see things from my own perspective. I had to understand her that, okay, she doesn't like the reels I'm sending to her, and I have no right to determine how she's going to feel. So I don't know what, I'm sure these things happen in friendship, and these are the little things that actually ruin a lot of relationships, because you want to determine how your friend should feel. You want to determine how your partner should feel. You want to determine how your siblings should feel. You love them, fine, but do you love them enough to see things from their own perspective? Because the moment you begin to see things from people's perspective, that is where true love actually abides. Then from there, you can now begin to judge with empathy, from a place of empathy, from a place of love. Do you understand? I know you do. And she also gave a better way. She gave a better way you can apologize when you get into an argument with your friend. If you have a disagreement, if you get into an argument with your friend, she said you could start. I apologize that we've disconnected on this. It is important to me that we are on the same page. Please tell me how my actions affected you. So these days I'm so quick to say sorry. I'm so quick to say sorry to people before before I even think about what happened. Because being a I was once a defensive person. I'm actually getting through it already. So I used to be a defensive person. So I had to just put myself in that position of, okay, Prosperous, you were wrong. I had to put myself in that position of, I am sorry. Because the moment I say sorry, my defense is broken. The moment I say sorry, my defense is broken. I will begin to analyze things and see things from that person's perspective. But the moment you, as a defensive person, want to start telling them why you did the things you did, trust me, you would not make a good decision, and it might actually ruin your relationship with people. So if you're a defensive person, the first thing you should say is, sorry, I am sincerely sorry. That was the first thing I told her when she told me that she did not like the fact that I still sent the views. I told her that I'm so sorry that this happened before I said any other thing. So I'm telling you, if you're a defensive person, always say sorry before you say anything. So this will lead us to the last subheading, which is areas of our lives. As we have different experiences, and all of this makes us who we are today. But she says that God knew us before He formed us. God knew you before He formed you. Even from your mother's womb, He knew you. It is in the Bible. even from your mother's womb, he already knew you. So she said that we've had so many experiences, we've been hurt, we've met so many people, and we've learned a lot of and we've learned different things from them. And she said that she knows that it might be very, very difficult to open the doors that we have closed, and confront those situations again, and confront that thing, that grassroots problem. But the fact that God knew us before he formed us is a good assurance for us, because he already knew that this was going to happen, and he already made the grace available for us to overcome. So she says that if we begin to, that we should trust God, that we are not alone in this, and that God has us, and that we should not be afraid, and God is going to see us through this phase of our lives. So if you are because I believe that you're going to confront um that thing. I believe that you're going to go back to what happened in the very beginning, and why you are acting the way you do. So it may be a very difficult decision to do, but trust that God has your back, and he knew you before you were even formed. He knew you before you were formed, and he knew that you were going to and he knew that we're going to make that grace available. So she's saying that grace is made available for you already. Now, she said, God knew you before you were formed. I actually highlighted two things in this already. Instead of counting the reasons you have to be afraid, give yourself permission to be brave. Instead of counting the reasons you have to be afraid, give yourself permission to be brave. You want to confront that situation, but you're scared. You're scared. Instead, rather, give yourself permission to be brave. And next thing I highlighted here was that you cannot begin to guard your heart until you fully know your heart. So now, today's chapter talks about how that we should remove the weeds in our mind. And how can you remove the weeds in your mind when you don't even know them? And the only way you can know them is to confront them, is to actually take a recess, go for a recess, and know why you are acting the way you do. Recognize your weight, so you can transform your mind. And the only way you can do that is to actually know your mind, know your heart. Do you get it? So that is what this chapter is talking about briefly. In summary, you have to guard your heart. You have to know why you're acting the way you do. You have to know your weeds and confront them, and confront the incident that actually caused that particular weed, that made it so rooted in your mind. And I'm so sure you've learned a lot from today's chapter. See you next week in my next book review video, which will be treating the next chapter, Learn Your Patterns. I really do love you. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share. I remain Dowo Ifeame Prosperous, and this is Inside Out with Prospi. Bye guys, I really do love you. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and share. And that's on period.